You are the full stack. You've got your family, your kid, your company, your two different things that you like lead, you're involved in. You probably have like your girls' night, your girlfriends. Like these are all the things that are in your stack that like all of us are trying to just figure out at all times. Yes. And you are a full stack mom. And I just like think that that's so cool. This is Full Stack Moms.
This is not a parenting podcast, nor a business podcast, but a place where we talk building careers in tech, raising kids at home, and making it work in public. So what's your job, Karen? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah, no problem. I am the founder and CEO of Launch by Lunch. Launch by Lunch is a community and upskilling program for executives and teams that are looking to adopt AI and do so in a calm and confident manner.
We love calm.
Yeah. We stay calm, you won't fail.
I love that.
It.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how old is your son?
My son is 10. So yeah, like we are very heavy in the soccer, 360-degree year of sports. But it's a lot of fun. And I played soccer in college. And so it's like, I'm in it with him.
Oh, great.
Do you coach?
Great.
Or
I
just
did for a long time. Yeah, his like the town teams. And then I just decided, like, you know how parents get on the sideline. I was like, I'm not down for that. I'm sort of cut myself off after third grade.
Okay, well, just for like some background, Karen and I found each other on LinkedIn, and I don't quite remember how, but I know that Karen, you just have this amazing story about an event that happened to you where you needed to like mobilize people and make shit happen, and it's gonna become like a TED Talk. And so I'm just so curious to hear your story and, you know, see what we can impart wisdom-wise to everybody out there.
The wisdom is that, like, moms are always the ones GSing. Like, that's why the three of us are sitting here. And I think a lot of the reason for that is because the stuff falls downhill. And so that story is a story about, like, I'm a worker and I'm an entrepreneur. And I don't think of work as work because I do what I love to do. Great. Mm-hmm. And in 2022, I was the president of a tech company, and, you know, we were just coming out of COVID. I was working from home here. Everything was happening virtually. My son at the time was 6. And for the second year in a row, our local school district, which will go unnamed, told me that they didn't pull his lottery number for after school care. And so I'm like, okay, no after school care for kindergarten, no after school care for first grade. When am I going to get it? When he's in 5th? And we don't need it anymore? Like, what are we talking about here? So it's funny because I think a lot of moms and parents think, oh, you know, preschool, nursery school, you get, you know, once you're kind of done with paying for that, you're sort of in the clear for...
No,
actually, it's about to get a lot worse. Maybe not more expensive, but far worse in terms of coverage. And this is a crisis that, you know, the childcare crisis is a crisis across the country. Massachusetts has the #1 most expensive childcare in the country. And so that first year we had a nanny, we kept her 40 hours a week because nobody wants 20 hours a week, right? But I'm paying 40 just so I can keep working at my startup. And then the next year is when I finally just said, and they said, sorry, we didn't pull his number. I just said, I'm not doing this anymore. And, you know, what happens when your child comes through the door at 2:00 in the afternoon and you still have 4 more Zooms to do, right? We're looking at you. He's 6, right? Mom, please hang out with me. Like, Mom, please pay attention. Like, it is heartbreaking. It is heart-wrenching. I feel like a lot of people went through this during COVID. A lot of people still go through it now. But it was awful. And I really felt like at the end of the day, you know, I would stop working so I could hang out with him or put him in front of a screen, which is awful. Like, we can talk more about screens if you want. And I just would then go back to work at 8:00 at night. And I was like, this is no way to live. I'm not doing it. And I have to make a choice. Am I the mom he needs me to be, or am I the leader my company needs? And of course, I chose my son. I quit my job, which was, just a total, like, I would never do something like this. It's totally out of character, but I had to do it. So then I was just like, but I'm fixing this. So I went into my mom's Facebook group in my town and I just said, hey, who else doesn't have after school care? Send me a note. End of the night, I had 75 emails. Okay. No one has after school care. So started digging into this. And of course, there was an onslaught of parents who were like, we want to help. What do we do? So we created something called Parents for After School Solutions, which we shortened to PASS, and created essentially this grassroots movement where we said, we're here to help. We're here to solve the problem. We're not going to get angry. We're just going to do what needs to get done for our community. So it ended up mobilizing about 600 parents, started a parent day. Like, I think back and I'm like, wow, if I had a Claude code or even a ChatGPT back then, it's so much easier.
Way less spreadsheets and way less emails is what it would have been. Yeah.
Right.
1000%. Also, after the fact, could have built an app to like find after school care programs for the parents and just do this two-sided marketplace thing, which now exists in a couple forms. But in any case, created our own parent database in a spreadsheet, and really just, we went out and talked to like hundreds of vendors locally to be like, will you come plug into our after school? We made a lot of friends really, really fast on the town boards, on the school board. We then like essentially networked our way to the CEO of the YMCA. And I found this summer camp, and I'm pointing like this because it's like about 500 yards into my backyard. It was just sitting vacant September to June. And the YMCA owned it. And we just kind of said, why aren't you making money in an after-school care program here? You guys do after-school care. And they were like, really? It's a problem? Like, yeah. And it was one of these weird problems where it wasn't a financial problem, right? Like, people were ready to write a check. So 7 months later, so essentially I had to quit my job and started this thing, which didn't pay me money, but solved a problem. And we had 12 vendors plugged into our recreation department who agreed to kind of create an umbrella program, handed them off there. And we had a new after-school care program at the summer camp behind my house, conveniently located for my son to attend.
That is so cool.
It was a wild experience.
And it's still going strong now?
Yeah, all the programs are still running. Yeah, and it's, you know, here's one of the cool things about doing something like that too, because that whole experience of me kind of having my support system fall out from underneath me really made me realize, well, wow, like I think I've really been focusing my time in the wrong places, right? Like I go to work, I come home, I do what I need to do for my family, I go to work. And I think a lot of people are like that, especially people, quite frankly, who live in the suburbs, right? And like, we don't have sidewalks in my town. It's semi-rural. So there's a lot of
We don't either.
I can't stand it, right? Like, I can't just, number one, I can't just go for a walk. Like, I just want to go walk around the block a few times. Can't. And there's so much.
I think I see what your next project is, Karen.
Yeah. Wow.
Urban planning.
Right, yeah. well, funny you should
Parents, if only Claude Code could mix cement. If only Claude Code could mix cement, you know?
You know, it might one day. It might control the machine.
Yeah, hey, I'm not writing it off. I'm not writing it off.
I did end up joining our economic development committee as a result of this, by the way.
Of course you did.
Because I realized, like, all these things, I'm not paying attention to what's going on around me. I can't impact what's happening at the national level, but I can impact what's happening here in my small little suburban town. And so making all these friends through the process and building all these relationships, like, it completely changed how I view where I live. And despite the fact that we have these horrible winters and I'm not a skier and I have dreams of moving South Carolina and sun on my face 5 days a year, it's like, I won't go because now I've built this community and I love these people. And it's really the whole experience of that problem transformed my priorities about how I spend my time, but also like how I experience the world around me right here.
Oh, wow.
So awesome. I'm in this in between of, so I have 2 kids that are under 3. So I have a 2.5-year-old and a 9-month-old. So I'm in a different echelon of children right now. Oh yeah, no. So my son's in full-time daycare, and my daughter, I've been waiting for, this comes up on like every episode because it's so present for me right now. She's not in full-time daycare yet because he needs to move out of the daycare room for her to move in. Like, he's saving her spot. So when he moves up, she will, you know, so you get for having 2 kids really close in age. So, and we love our daycare, and it's full-time only. And most of the kids are on voucher. We pay private. I also live in Massachusetts, for the listeners out there. And so, yes, I live in the state with the most expensive childcare in the country. And so I am going to have 2 kids in full-time childcare. But the situation right now is I'm playing this game. I made a LinkedIn post about this yesterday that went like extremely viral, which is weird because
really?
I don't go viral. I don't go viral.
Yeah.
So
fun.
And so my
extremely
nanny
viral or 2 likes, is that it? That's
yeah, exactly. Well, so no, I've only got extremely viral twice in my whole career. But getting over 100,000 views on a LinkedIn post.
Wow.
But what's going on right now is I have like a nanny kind of. She's a stay-at-home mom that now her kids are in school. So she watches my daughter for 2 days a week, but she has to leave at 3 to get her kids off the bus. Right. And so which wasn't really a problem until I had a PST client. So now I have a client that's in PST. So I can't really tell them I can't meet after 2 p.m. Like that means they get like an hour of me a day, So I'm trying to figure this out. And I had a call with them until 3:15 ET. And I was like, what? So this is 15 minutes. You're thinking, Shannon, it's 15 minutes, right? But I thought about this 15 minutes for 4 days, right? Of like, so do I have to get a fully different childcare plan for this day, for those 15 minutes? Can I hold her for this call? She's super mobile now. She'll probably try and type on my computer. This is a new client. I really want to be focused. Like, or can I hold her on my lap? Can I do, like, should I ask if my husband can come home early? And I think this is the definition of like the mental load that happens. 15 minutes is never 15 minutes. Like those 2 hours your son was home that you didn't have childcare is never 2 hours, right? It is this like persistent thought and feeling you have about how to solve for this stuff. And I now know like I'll be paying a gajillion dollars to have 2 kids in full-time childcare in a month, but I won't think about those 15 minutes at all, right? Like I'm freeing up my mental load, right? So it's like, so when people say things are free, it's like, are they free emotionally? Are they free mentally? Or are they just free fiscally, right?
Yeah.
There are really different. And I just think it's also a thing that you can't explain to anyone that's never had to navigate that kind of, it's so niche, right? I thought this was so niche. My nanny snapped a picture of me holding my daughter on her way out, was like, you're such a badass. She'll know that her mom's badass. Like as I'm like, on this call, and I posted on LinkedIn with my daughter's face covered, and literally 200 people commented on it being like, I have had this exact experience of this 15 minutes.
And we don't talk about it.
No. And I didn't realize that. I was like, maybe a few people will comment being like, oh, slay. Like, I don't know. Like, I was like, I don't think, whatever. Right? Like,
girl.
I like your shirt. I don't know.
Girl.
Get a girl. Also, like, your office is a mess. I was like, I'm waiting for someone to comment about how messy my office is. But I was like, wow, this struck a chord. Like in not just moms, because there were a lot of dads in the comments too saying like, yeah, this is one of those things that like everything is a constant shuffle and renegotiation. And I do think like, Mallory, you've talked about this too of like your kid, you have a nanny for the summer because what do you do during the summer? Never mind just after school. Like your job doesn't stop,
No.
it's a lot of mental load.
It is, yeah. And the summer is easier because you can utilize someone full-time and you can pay through the nose and have the full-time be worth it. But like you said, Karen, in the school year, it's very difficult to find someone that wants to work like 4 hours a day, 3 hours a day at your specific time.
Nobody wants it.
And, like the woman who's watching Willa, she has her own kids coming home from school.
Yep.
She's not an after school kind of option, right? And so those are the same things that exist for, parents that have school-aged kids. It's like, okay, if you're lucky, you can find a high schooler whose day ends a little early, who can be around at that time. Or you can find like a parent or a grandma or like someone who just happens to be free. But the after school stuff is so extremely limited. And for a few years, I had them coming home on the bus and they would just walk right past me. Behind me, this door is like the front door outside. And they're like, we're here, and they like bust into my office. And I work, with everybody in California. It's like 11 a.m. It's literally 11 a.m. there. And, I'm like in a one-on-one with my CEO and my kids are busting in. And luckily, I've worked with so many people and companies that were so open to like, hey, whatever you have to do. Like they love seeing the kids and they like to say hi. And it's never been, like a huge problem, but it's a problem in my nervous system, like my body.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, what are they doing? And of course, they're boys, they're fighting, and this was the first year that we got into the after school care at the elementary school. So
congrats.
I feel you, Karen. Like it has been insane, but this year is life changing because I can truly I'm not distracted until they get home, and my husband brings them home like around 5 or 5:30, and it's night and day, night and day.
And those last couple hours of the day too, whether you're on calls or you're trying to catch up from all the calls you were already on, like those are hours. You need those hours. They don't just disappear. And so I love that you've been able to work at companies that they've been really accepting of that. And I think actually COVID did a lot to kind of edge people in that direction, right? We got used to seeing the camera and the cats and everything else we saw in the background. So
do you guys remember that first viral video where the dad's like wearing a shirt and tie and he's presenting and his kid comes in and he's trying to like pretend it's not happening, and then the dog or the mom comes in and tries to get him and they're like crawling on the floor behind him? I just thought, but that was the moment where it was like, we can be lighthearted about this. Like, humans exist and people have children, and whether it's like after school babysitter or something, you just do your best, and we're all just doing our best, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
And I think it is really hard to, depending on the economic climate of where you live, because there's like a nanny Facebook group in our area, and I never joined any of the mom ones. I feel like I missed that, which is maybe probably better. I don't know what's going on in there. But the nanny one, someone was asking, and there's so many comments in there of people being like, I can't believe you'd pay all that money to have someone else raise your kids. And it's like, this is like a real thing that people still, probably not our audience, because I think all of our audience are working moms and working parents. But even if you're not, right, like you made that choice, you quit your job when you needed to, but then still worked, like kind of like Mallory, right? Like she tried to quit her job and then worked still. But I think there's this there's still this like overlaying of like, I can't believe you would spend all this money and have someone else raise your kids. And it's like, whoa, like this is so, and that's not gone. I think people think we're past that. And I just don't think that we are in a lot of places, right? And for a lot of people, economically, it doesn't make sense. Like they can't just throw money at the problem, which is like you were saying, like in your town, it wasn't a money problem, it was an access issue. And I think other places that's not necessarily the case. And so it's just I'm so grateful for the daycare we have that all of these kids can be on voucher. They can be on state funded voucher, right? Like, so they can go to daycare, so their parents can work. And it's just like, it's a really complex systemic problem that is like, I know that you're also working on other things now that we want to hear about, right? Of like how we can continue to like make change in our local communities, right? Even if it's not something we feel like we can change the entire system of, right?
Yes, 100%. And it's interesting to think about how this whole thing works with our government, like local, national, and then we look at Europe, like they have figured out how to weed childcare into like the entire system, right? And so, everything from maternity leave for a year, paternity leave, and like for multiple years, and all of these things that are really built to support families that just don't exist here. And in many cases, I feel like some employers have come around, and kudos to them. It's just not built that way. So if it's going to cost you like $50,000 a year to keep help, right? But like you're only making 60 or less, like it just, like you were saying, it doesn't really make any economical sense. And then also, by the way, to still have all that stress and strain and not have the time with your child, like we all want time.
Right. Stressed.
Yeah. Right.
No, it's not good for anybody,
Well, no one's happy.
Yeah.
No.
But on the other hand too, it's like, and this is a privilege, but thinking about like, I like working, right? And I think there's other moms who are just like, they would much rather be home raising their children. And I know, and friends with some of those moms, that's just not how I'm wired. So it becomes, I almost feel like more pressing for people like likely you two and me, where we're like, no, like we have purpose in the world that's kind of just beyond just like, we translate that out to our work, and like, that's how I operate. And so I feel like if I don't have the freedom and the ability to move and make change in whatever direction I'm moving in at that time, I wouldn't be myself. And so I think that's really how I felt a lot of that time too, where then for those 7 months or 9 months until I went back to work, I was just like, I actually didn't know how to identify myself. I would go to like parties or, neighborhood things, and it's like, I didn't have a title anymore. So like, who was I?
Yeah.
So that was a whole other kind of crisis in and of itself.
You're going to make me cry again. I cry in every episode now. are we?
It's so real though. We've talked about it a couple times. Like, how do you define like your identity and how many different identities we all have? Just so many different layers to that. But
Yeah. But
I have a question, Karen.
Oh, yeah.
Ask you a question. Okay. So when this all went down, you were the president of your company. Obviously, you had plenty of authority to like make some changes that you wanted. And still, it felt like your best option was to go ahead and resign. I'm curious, like, were you one of the only people at your startup that had a kid? What was like the lay of the land there?
Great question, Valerie. I feel like no one's asked me that question, and I love that you did. Yes.
Come on the Mom podcast and we'll ask it. Saratoga.
I was the only person with a child under the age of 18.
Yeah.
Or they didn't have children. It was like one or the other. Mostly men, as you might imagine. And the bottom line is this, too. If you're in a venture-backed startup, right, it's just, there's a culture there that goes far beyond a typical corporate, middle management culture. I mean, the expectation is that you're working 10 to 12 hours a day.
Growing 3X every year, baby. 3X every year.
Right? Like, it just created an even bigger culture clash for me, and more pressure of like, those people really aren't going to understand about the kid in the background. And like, those people might be telling me like, well, just like go let them watch TV. Like, it was a very different environment perhaps than what other people experience. And I think, 996, have you guys heard of 996 in the, this idea that we should all be working like 9 hours a day, 6 days a week, forget what the other 6 is, but basically just bust your ass all the time if you're in a startup. And so there was just a massive culture clash, and I knew nothing I could have done. A policy for me would have only helped me, or a policy for my problem would have really only helped me. And it's probably also time for me to move on from that environment.
Got it.
And it's probably really hard too, because that environment probably felt great to you at some point. Like,
for sure,
there's a reason you became the president, right? Because you thrived in that environment at some point in your life or career, right? Like, did you feel a change, or was it kind of a slow erosion like theirs?
Okay, that's also such a good question. You guys are amazing. I'm not kidding. Like, I've talked about this a lot, and no one has asked me these two questions. Which I think
oh my God, this is so cool.
Yes. I also, like, I'll be honest, like, I thrive in chaos, right? So I'm still a startup girl. Like, let's make method out of the madness. Let's go. So it did feel good, and it felt good to be working on something new. That was also like, when I joined that company, I was CMO. I eventually moved over into the presidency, but that was my first foray into tech. So before that, I owned my own company. It was a B2C company. I mean, I worked a lot, but it was totally under my control. It was, my son was much younger then. I had way more control about when I was working, how hard I was working, and all that kind of stuff. So that's the thing, is like, at the beginning, and it was good. I had a nanny, right? He wasn't in school yet. It was like a very different phase of life. I had full coverage. And then when all of those things just started falling away, and like when this company went through COVID, we were a MarTech platform for companies to gather real world data from live events. Well, what happened during COVID?
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Were you a webinar platform then? Did you become a webinar platform?
No. But we did think about like partnering with webinar platforms to get technology that way. But no, actually, what we did was we pivoted to be a COVID health screener, because what type of data did people need from the real world at that time?
Who they've been with. Yeah, that's fair.
Yes. And like as they're entering spaces and all this other things and symptoms and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was amazing. I'm so grateful for that experience to like just go. And we made a bunch of money. That's great. But we all had our like extreme burnout and COVID for one reason or five or another.
Yeah.
And
1,000,
coming out, and now I've got no child after school care. And now it was just like, it was a cacophony of stress.
Totally.
That's a nice term. Cacophony of stress.
Cacophony of stress. Put that on your headstone. It was a cacophony of stress.
Let's hope that doesn't travel with me to my headstone.
We already told
you
us
can tell
your
how I'm
job is Shannon's having her own cacophony today.
I am. Not just today. Yeah, we're going through a sleep regression, so I'm just in a weird. I'm feeling weird.
I am in a sleep regression. Okay.
Oh no! You want to come over? You
I am
want to
right
come over and hang out with my daughter?
Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah,
up.
guys can hang out.
Do it.
Oh,
But Shannon, you had mentioned earlier about getting involved at the local level. And I think that this is something that's like really important, and that the more I've talked about it to people, the more I'm watching like my friends start to do the same. And
Love.
it's exciting to me because we really can create change right where we live. And, you know, it gives you an opportunity to take kind of whatever feelings you're having inside about what's going on in the world or government or this, and put them somewhere else. And I do think, so do you guys know who Robert Putnam is?
no.
Bowling Alone.
Oh yes, I don't recognize his name, but I recognize that.
Join or Die was then the movie that was made out of his book in like 2020. He was one of the very, very first, like sort of, he was a social researcher, social scientist researcher. I'm not getting his title exactly right, but like started in the 70s at Harvard, ended up publishing this book in like the early 2000s. I got to see him speak recently. And it's all about human connection and how it impacts all of us. And so Join or Die is about like joining clubs, joining in your neighbors, just finding ways to join community and how important it is. And this was the other really big thing that came out of this experience for me, which was like, I've been so self-isolated, and I'm a social person, but like I was choosing, and again, 996, to just like operate in a way that was like not conducive for my health or for the health of like my family. And so he has the most amazing data showing how our social relationships are actually a leading indicator of the economics of the United States and how likely we are to go to war. It's wild. Yes.
Well, it makes sense. Like the more human beings you have empathy for and you spend time with, the more you're able to humanize people. Like that makes sense to me completely.
Yes. And this idea of like, do people think of themselves, generally speaking, as a we or an I in the country at that time? How big is the differential between the people who have the most money in our country and the least money in our country? Those gaps are huge indicators for the economic and structural health of our country. And so when he showed the data of these, essentially there's like 4 different metrics by which it's plotted on a chart. Back when the Civil War happened in the 1880s, it was like down here, right? And then you see it go up, all 4 in concert to the 1950s, where like we were generally like a happy country. And then it all takes down. And now it's like, it's lower than where we were in the 1880s. And it's like this idea that like, yeah, like what we're feeling is real, but we can turn it around. And the way he talks about turning it around is he had 3 recommendations. He said, go local, meaning get involved locally, do what you can do and like become an agent of change. Go young, which I thought was interesting because he's like, it's the big revolutions of the world have always started with young people. And we need them to grow into the next set of leaders. And then the third one was go moral. And what he meant by that was like golden rule moral, like treat people like you would like to be treated, respect, honesty, all of these things. And so all this stuff, yeah, it really matters. And I will say for me professionally, as a person who's rethought her professional career around family life and all of it, having sort of like this, it's like a salad bowl of a career in a way, right? It's like I have my company over here, which is purposely not VC backed, that I can manage the way I want to, and that also drives community, makes me happy. I have my economic development committee role, so I get to start to understand more about like, hey, how do we increase connectivity around like retailers and these types of things and bring new opportunities to the town. And then I have the nonprofit, which is really about like, how do we, kind of get these humans back together again? It feels good because number one, it serves more than just work, but also if something is crashing somewhere, like if my work is crashing out, I have these other things and these other people. And it's not the end of the world, and it gives you instant perspective. Your purpose isn't one thing. And that has been really helpful for me.
I have goosebumps, which is so fun. So, how do I say this? Like all those things that you just said, I think of those as like that's your stack, right?
Oh my gosh, I love it.
You are the full stack. You've got your family, your kid, your company, your two different things that you like lead, you're involved in. You probably have like your girls' night, your girlfriends. Like these are all the things that are in your stack that like all of us are trying to just figure out at all times. Yes. And you are a full stack mom. And I just like think that that's so cool.
So cool. I know.
And
chef's hats.
And the thing that I also resonate with that you just said is that if one thing in the stack is like going a little haywire, the rest of the stack can like sort of keep you grounded and all the rest of the things. And that's been this podcast for me a little because there have been days like a couple weeks ago, I had some crazy, just like very, very hectic weeks in a row. And recording this on Fridays completely turned my day around. And it was like, this brought me back to like normal. And I like what you're saying about how it helps balance you.
The perfect way to put it. And I love that this podcast is that for you because it isn't it.
It's like,
I was going to say, like when you're doing it, you probably get in a bit of a zone, right? You're not thinking about anything else. Everything else goes away when you're doing this. What were you going to say, Shannon?
no, I was going to say that I was just joking that I don't usually calm people down. So I'm glad, Mallory, you feel that way. Hang out with me for an hour.
It's like a cheer up. Like these
It is.
conversations are so cool. And like, I don't know if we'll even leave this in the episode, but I just think that being intentional about finding people to talk to that you feel like maybe there's a potential connection. I want to learn from you. I want to know what you're about. And then every conversation we've had, the women that we talk to are just like so amazing. And so then the rest of my day is just like on this high because I'm like, well, that was awesome. And I feel inspired and like somehow also grounded. Like there's just a lot of
Grounded. That's
benefit we get from talking with each other and
Connection.
sharing. Connection, exactly. And it's the same thing as when you post it on Facebook and you're like, dude, what's up with after school care? Like, I don't know what to do. And then everyone's like, hold on, I want to commiserate with you. Right. But then you took it to the actionable place of being able to do something about it. And so I just think that's like super, super amazing.
Thank you.
Love it.
I want to say one other thing about connection and the like grounding and the cheer up and the energy we get from it. It's something called Suck Up Nights, which I just posted about on LinkedIn. Two amazing humans who I have come to know and work with a bit founded the local Boston chapter. And what it is, it's all about bringing people together under the guise of, I screwed something up. Here's what I did. And there's no pot of gold at the end of the story. There's no, and I was the hero. And it's like, no, I fucked something up. And here's the story. And I'm going to tell it to everyone in like 10 slides and 7 minutes.
Wait, that's so funny.
Wow.
It's awesome. Shannon, since we live kind of,
I know, I was gonna say.
I'm definitely going to drag you to this.
Yeah, send me a thing.
my
Yeah,
gosh.
absolutely.
The whole room, because it is under this like kind of banner of like vulnerability, everyone's just like, hey, how are you? Everyone's introducing themselves. It's just a totally different energy in the room. And I went a few nights ago and I just was like, again, sleep regression, so tired. And I was like, but I'm going to get there. When I left, I felt so happy and energized. And I was like, I'm so glad I did this and met these people. And I feel like it's still like, I still got the glow, you know? So anyway, there's something to it. There's a science there, whether we can actually put our finger on it or not. And Fuck Up Nights is, by the way, in like 300 cities across the U.S. So find yours.
That's
It's
so
amazing.
fun.
I have a lot of content I could share, which is I do have one question about your current business that we want to make sure we ask. And then also then we have one segment at the end. So so I actually am very interested about this too, because you are a person that is very AI optimist, right? Like you are super in on like the value that AI can bring to working parents and to people running businesses. And you also believe so strongly in connection. And I think a lot of the conversation right now is that those two things cannot coexist. And I would love to hear you talk about, number one, all of would love to hear what you're doing in terms of your utilization of AI and the change that Opus and Cloud Code has created for your life. but also how that can live in concert with our need to be connected to one another. Like, I would love to hear your perspective there.
Again, like such a spot on question.
I know. I'm impressed.
I've
I've had a lot of cold brew today. So.
Like that is actually like a cornerstone now of my brand and the brand of this company and my belief system, because people do think that AI is going to drive us apart. Some ways it may and does. However, the way I view it is that in order to adopt, in order to learn, in order for everyone to grow together, because it's not going away. So let's not leave anybody behind. Let's bring everybody with us. And the way that we do that is by getting in a room together and figuring it out. And that's what Launch by Lodge is all about. It's building community around AI, teaching, learning, peer support, so no one is left behind. And the way actually we started working with Claude Code and offering Claude Code Chief of Staff workshops was by, I was in a room. You guys remember that weekend, beginning of February, it was like negative 26 degrees. Yes, I was out in the Berkshires in a VRBO with a burst pipe and seven other women. And
you don't ski.
Don't ski. Don't ski.
What were you doing there?
We went there to sip hot chocolate and just like get away. We had all met like at a founder investor conference. And we wanted to build something. And so when we got there, one of the women said, you know what, she's a VC, her co-VC partner had put together a video on like how to do a Claude Code Chief of Staff on Claude Code. And so we're like, let's do it. So we sat there for 3 hours, the seven of us, no developers in the room, and went through the process and helped each other out. And like, it's actually, if you know what you're doing, it's simple, but like the first time you do it, you're in a terminal, man. Like we're going back to the 90s here with coding, right? So yeah, it was wild. So, but it was us coming together as a community, helping each other, figuring it out. We all got through it. And by the end, now we're all emailing each other from Claude. We're all sending calendar invites. We've connected our Fathom AI note taker. It's reporting every morning. Here are the meetings you had yesterday. Here's the cool shit you said. Like, here's the stuff you have to do. So the way that I have been learning AI has been almost entirely in community. So I do believe absolutely it can be a unifying force.
Love.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Did I answer that all the way?
Yes, I think you absolutely did. Okay. And I think now we can port it into this segment, which you probably will. We'll see. You can answer however you want. So we do what we call our save of the week every week. So people, process, product, something that this week made your life significantly easier and is something that kind of saved you, right? So examples we've had is like, my mom was mine one time and Mallory loved her chair one time and her AirPods. And like, we go on all, or Henry's mom, there's been like a bunch of different examples. So we can go first if you want while you're thinking.
So I did something maybe a little controversial, but I let Claude Code into my text messages.
What?
Because I'm like, you can't possibly really know me if you don't know what's going on in my text messages, whether it's work stuff that bleeds into there or personal stuff. Like that is 360 degrees. Now you got my email, my calendar, all this. Right now you got.
Wow.
So as I mentioned, I've been like working hard. I haven't been sleeping a lot. And so I had texted a few friends like last week. Again, that's where the real me comes out. The real me is not in my corporate email, right? The real me isn't totally on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm pretty candid, but the real me is in my text messages.
It's in the group chat.
Yes.
Oh, the group chat.
So it's pulling it in. And as I get on Saturday morning and I open up and my chief of staff reports to me on Claude, it's like, Karen, we need to talk about your schedule. You told your friend last week that you were feeling burnt out. We need to make some changes.
Wow.
And I was like,
that's cool.
Like whoever thought, like even now, I'm like, whoever thought like AI would like, I don't use AI as a confessional. I had never used it for therapy. I was never one of those people. I'm like, it's going to optimize my life. But the fact that it like pulled that in and then was like, hang on, it's Saturday. What are you doing? And let's fix it. So it like created a new schedule for me for the week. And we blocked things and like it put it all on my calendar. And now it's texting me 15 minutes beforehand to be like, you're supposed to be leaving for the gym right now. What are you doing?
Wow.
Whoa. Yeah.
So it's texting you. It's not necessarily texting others.
No, I could set it up that way, but right now I just have it as like a buddy system.
Wow. That is neat.
Love. That's very neat.
Crazy.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a big save. Big save for the week.
I mean,
That's a
I'm
great
like, I
one.
can't, nothing else is going to stack up to that, right?
Top that. No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. All right, Mal, do you have one?
Yeah, I think this week one thing that saved me was my gym, my workout class, which is called Shred 415. And I don't know where they all are, but we've got one here. They're in Chicago, some other places, and it's a fitness class. And there's like 4 segments. It's weights and it's treadmill and a lot of different things. But I'm getting into that like time of the year where every once in a while I'm less excited to go. And you know how once you go, you just like feel so amazing.
Yeah.
And this week I just kind of really leaned into that. And there was one class in particular at the end where I was running really fast and I got that like little hint of a runner's high. And I think that I've like been milking that for a few days. Like I just felt so good from that. So I think that kind of saved me.
That's awesome.
Love.
Everyone had
Yeah, I
runners.
think I've experienced a runner's high potentially once.
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
was a few weeks ago too. I was like, I feel
Same
like,
here.
oh,
I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner.
I know that really epic 5K that I ran a few weeks ago. It shouldn't have been so hard, but it was. Yeah. So this is like perfect timing because this is how this podcast works. It's like a Kismet experience every week. So I have a tradition that we call Girls Night that we have been running since 2020. My best friend Alex and I started this so he and I have been best friends since I was 14 and he was 16. And during COVID, his husband is a police officer. My husband is a union electrician. So both were working out of the house, constantly being exposed to COVID, like literally all the time. So the two of us kind of decided after, 6 months or 4 months of not seeing anyone that we'd like pod up together because we didn't have kids yet. And so we were like, oh, we want to spend one night together every single week. And at the time, it was Wednesday Friends Day is what we called it. And we watched The Challenge on MTV every week. And we got takeout and we just like spent time together, right? Like that's it. It was not that deep. And we never skipped. That was you never skip and there's no sorries. It doesn't start at a specific time. It doesn't end at a specific time. It just happens, right? And this has now been running for 6 years. It has gone from Wednesday Friends Day to Thursday Girls Day because of Alex's CrossFit schedule. If he's listening right now, he'll know that the classes were late on Wednesday. But it now encapsulates our best friend Crystal, who lives in Boston, but at the time she was a school teacher, so it's super hard for her to get to us. But now she's back to being a school teacher, but she's in like a better area, so sometimes she can make it, her partner Brad. And so we commit to seeing each other once a week till we die, pretty much. We said once a week, every week.
That.
We have canceled it a few times over the last few years, but almost never. And we always replace it with another day in the week if we do cancel it, or with a live FaceTime call. So like we're still catching up, we're still connecting, right? And Crystal came over last night at like 8:15, so the kids were like melting down to go to bed. It was like kind of a nightmare. She came in, we sat down, we played a board game, so like tactile, right? Like looked each other in the eyes, played a board game. Real life, talked about what was going on in our lives, and just like sat and were with each other for 2 hours. And I'm so grateful. I've also known Crystal since I was 15. So like we've known each other through so many versions of ourselves. And it's like this thing where she walked into my house, my 2 little kids now, like when we first used to sit, we were those little kids, I mean, like when we met, right? And I think I've been feeling a lot of digital fatigue of my entire life exists in a 13-inch box or a, set. How big are our phones? 6 inches probably across phone. And because that's where my work is. I work fully remote. Like it just is what it is. And so much of my life is there. And it just felt so like healing and to my nervous system, like you were saying, Mallory, like was just like so regulated by just getting to be with her and lose Azul to her like I always do. I almost beat her, but I always lose. What a healing experience that was. Like we make that commitment to one another as
Worth
friends.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And prioritize each other still. So yeah, Wednesday or Thursday Girls Day is my save this week.
It's real. It's real, like healing power of connection. Like I love that you do it on a weekly basis. That's the key, right? It's like just keep
Commit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
No. Yeah. Very cool.
Well, this has been so cool. Best story. Can't wait to hear more later. I'll probably be checking out your AI chief of staff for sure and comparing notes because, got to do it. But this has been wonderful. Thank you for being here with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Thanks
Love
so much
it.
for having me.
Thanks for listening to Full Stack Moms.
We'll be back with more episodes that help you see you're not crazy and you're not alone. If we might be your people, please make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
And so anyway,
Can I bring my consistently needing to be breastfed child? Talk about fucking something up. That didn't work.
for sure, it is that kind of place.